Guys, I don't know if you're Brene Brown fans. I always watched her videos when they got really popular, when she got really popular. I guess, her TEDx, one of her TEDx talks went viral, and that's how her work became more well known. She became super famous, I guess. And, she had done a lot of research and done a lot of work and bodies of work, written work, and then she's just writing all these books. But I think I've read parts of her writing before, but this is the first time I'm actually going through one of her books, Staring Greatly. And I've done a lot of this work myself, but in different ways at different times in my life. And this is from 2012, when it came out, or the copyright. And I'm in chapter 3 right now, where it's understanding and combating shame. And I never knew, I heard the word shame and I was like, oh, I don't have any of that. I had no idea how pervasive it is in society, and everyone has some dose of shame, before, either now or after, before you have what we call shame resistance. I can't even find the right words right now. I've been so out of it, you guys. Shame resistance is when you get to the point, kind of where I feel I'm at, because I know what it is. I used to be trying to be a perfectionist, and that's what I saw and modeled in front of me, with my family and other people I knew. But I like how she makes it very practical and relatable in here. She just spells it out, examples of what shame could be. And it all has to do, normally it says, with these categories of money, work, family, parenting, body image or appearance, sex, aging, addiction, trauma, stereotypes, labels, mental, physical health, all this kind of stuff. And examples of shame is getting laid off and having to tell my pregnant wife, for example. Shame is hiding the fact that I'm in recovery. Shame is raging at my kids. It's bankruptcy. It's my boss calling me an idiot in front of the client. Shame is my husband leaving me for my next door neighbor. Shame is my DUI. Shame is infertility. Shame is internet porn. Shame is flunking out of school twice. Shame is hearing my parents fight through the walls and wondering if I'm the only one who feels this afraid. So shame is real pain. And it says the importance of social acceptance and connection is reinforced by our brain chemistry, and the pain that results from social rejection and disconnection is real pain. So it's proven that it registers in our body and our brain as regular pain, and people want to pretend it's not, but it is. And I like how she spells it out too here. Guilt equals I did something bad, and shame equals I am bad. So shame's always attacking us, instead of just an isolated incident or action that we take. I'm just kind of coming through this for you guys and hitting it real quick, because I don't think I really put the word shame to it until the last few years. I have been working on this for so many years in different ways, and I really can honestly say I don't have this anymore. If somebody tries to throw shame and blame at me and stuff, I mean, I know exactly what it is. I'm not saying I'm some kind of emotional intelligence genius or anything like that. Definitely not saying that, but I've just done so much of it, by getting it out in writing or my acting, performing arts stuff I started doing, to tell some of these stories and get some of the emotions out in an artistic way, because sometimes just regurgitating them to our friends, talking to friends or family, or just holding everything inside, one or the other, where you're getting it out, but it's not creating something positive, it can just reinforce the negative. Or if we hold it in, obviously it will reinforce the negative if we hold it in. So I really love the fact of creating art with it, something just creative. If you draw it out, just so many different ways to express yourself and get a lot of this shame out and the blame. I really like how she has a whole section about men and women and how we can register shame differently. Here it says women and the shame web. And it's talking about look perfect, do perfect, be perfect. Anything less than that is shaming for women, being judged by our mothers, being exposed, the flawed parts of yourself that you want to hide from everyone are suddenly revealed. There's a bunch of them. No seat at the cool table, the pretty girls are laughing, never enough at home, never enough at work, never enough in bed, never enough with my parents. Shame is never enough. I know that very well. Like, putting so much pressure on myself and never feeling like enough. But the more that we continue that inside of ourselves, the more it keeps happening. It's like a self-perpetuating, like, falsehood. So the real key there is to getting it through to yourself and having self-worth and self-love and just knowing deep down, like, you're worth so much more than that, and that's not what it is, and you are free to be authentically yourself and love yourself, even if no one around you is. Because if you keep doing that, then you will bring on and attract the people who will. It is true. Oh, here's the part about men. And I get like teary-eyed when I read the parts about men, because I know so many men are raised to be like, oh, don't cry, or like vulnerability is being weak, right? So like, oh, don't be a, you know what, like, toughen up, tough skins. And it's so damaging to men and to women too, but it's like, then you wonder why relationships fail, like why society is the way that it is, like why is everything this way, why is everything so hard. I'm like, oh, look at how you flipping raise your kids and how we treat ourselves. So it just makes sense. But she gives examples for the men too. Shame is failure at work, on the football field, in your marriage, in bed, with money, with your children. It doesn't matter. Shame means failure. And our worst fear is being criticized or ridiculed. Either one of these is extremely shaming. Shame is being seen as the guy you can shove up against the lockers, right? Shame is being wrong. Not doing it wrong, but being wrong. Shame happens when people think you're soft. It's degrading and shaming to be seen as anything but tough. Revealing any weakness is shaming. Basically, shame is weakness. Showing fear is shameful. You can't show fear. You can't be afraid no matter what. Man, if you can't do these things, it's like you have to do them at least with yourself and allow these feelings to come up so you can face them. Otherwise, you never get past them. If you just keep stuffing them and suppressing and it's a losing battle if you don't let it come up so you can deal with it. I've done it so many times, and then it's so healing, and then other times I've totally like held in it for different reasons at different times, knowing like it's not good. But it's just really healing how she goes through, and like she talks about some of her interactions with people that'll come up to her after a talk or whatever, and just the way some of the men respond to her, it just like really brings tears to my eyes, even though this is not like, I wouldn't say this is super emotional, but I mean it's kind of, but she writes it in an intellectual, conversational way of like her research, her points, what she's found. She'll mention like research, studies, whatever, but then she'll talk about her personal conversations and interactions and like what touched her, but also like from what she's learned, like she'll have a definition of something. For example, she wrote, in The Gifts of Imperfection, I guess that's like another one of her books. I don't even know. I share the definition of love that I developed based on my data. Here it is. We cultivate love when we allow our most vulnerable and powerful selves to be deeply seen and known, and when we honor the spiritual connection that grows from offering with trust, respect, kindness, and affection. Love is not something we give or get. It is something that we nurture and grow, a connection that can only be cultivated between two people when it exists within each one of them, and we can only love others as much as we love ourselves. True story. Shame, blame, disrespect, betrayal, and the withholding of affection damage the roots of which love grows. Love can only survive these injuries if they are acknowledged, healed, and rare. So I thought that was a really good way that she explained that. And I will leave you with that. It's a really good book if you guys check it out. Daring Greatly, Brene Brown. And yeah, that's what I'm going through.